Welcome to Discovering.
College is back in session, and for one University of Michigan student from the UP, she's back for her second year as a member of the Michigan Rifle Team, and also a member of the 10-woman USA Randle Team, a spot she secured over the summer. I caught up with Maddy before she headed off to college for her junior year.
7 people they picked, and I made the team. And I was pretty excited.
And the release of a Trumpeter Swan treated for lead poisoning.
Her lead levels were the highest that they had ever seen in a bird. And so it's miraculous that she survived.
So sit back and relax. It's Monday night, and it's time for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forests thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
My name is Maddy Maline. I am 20 years old. I'm from Manistique, Michigan, and I'm a part of the Michigan Rifle Team. I've always enjoyed shooting as a sport. It's fun, it's calming. You get to, you lower your heart rate, you're breathing, and you shoot. You're looking at the target and you're trying to shoot 10s. So when we did that for scouts, I always enjoyed it. It's a little competition too. You always want to be the best, especially when you're shooting against boys that think they're better than everyone else.
Maddy learned shooting sports in the Scouts program, which we will talk more about shortly, but she credits her dad first for taking her hunting, and she still hunts today.
Of course, I'm from the UP. Yeah, that was a lot that I did with my dad when I was younger. That's how I first got into shooting, was with my dad. He'd take us out and we'd go sight in our rifles, and he'd talk about deer hunting. He got me into shooting.
And it was her father who gave Maddy the idea to try out for the Michigan Rifle Team.
I pushed her over the edge just by saying, hey, you're a Youper. You might as well give it a shot. They'll give you a tryout anyway if you say you're a Youper. I hadn't been a part of it my freshman year in college. I didn't really know the club existed. And I was in the car with my dad coming home from a concert, and he was telling me I needed to join more clubs. So I said, I would join a shooting team if Michigan had one, kind of as a joke because I didn't think that they did. And then I did some Googling while we're still in the car, and I said, you know what, they do. I'm gonna join. I'm gonna reach out. So they have a tryout program, and this was mid-October at the time of last year. I got to try out on the last possible day, and there were about 40 people that tried out. Some of them had experience. I made the team. 7 people they picked, and I made the team. And I was pretty excited. And they wanted a Youper, so very proud of her.
The Michigan Rifle Team competes against other schools in the Western Intercollegiate Rifle Conference, and last season they did very well.
In the conference we took home first, so we had the trophies for air rifle and small bore, but at nationals we did take second, which is still a huge accomplishment. We have schools from North Dakota, Ohio, a couple from Michigan that we're competing against, so it's all over the U.S.
As Maddy said, she also learned to shoot in Scouts. One of Maddy's other big accomplishments at such a young age is she is the first female Eagle Scout in the UP.
At the time when she started, we were getting my 2 boys interested. the Cubs and then finally transitioning into Boy Scouts. And she wasn't allowed because girls weren't allowed at that time. So I told her, I said, if you really want to do this, you're just going to have to go every time and do what they do and earn the badges, but you won't actually be a scout. And she said, that's fine. She wanted, the Girl Scouts here weren't doing exactly the same thing, and this was a little bit more interesting for her. It was more challenging.
I wanted to be out with my brothers. They're my best friends, so I wanted to be out camping and shooting guns and shooting archery out in the woods. So when they opened Scouts up for women to join, I had to jump on that. And so I was an inaugural member of Troop 401, the current girls troop in Scouts BSA here in Manistique. And I ended up accomplishing being the first female Eagle in the entire UP. So that was a big thing for me.
Manistique has had a solid Scouts program for decades, and their troop has graduated over 150 Eagle Scouts.
My name's Alan Barr. I'm the Scoutmaster here for our local troop, and I'm also district chair for the entire Upper Peninsula. So I've got some connection to every Eagle Scout in the UP. About 6 years ago, Scouting decided, at long last, to allow young ladies, girls, back into the program and allow them to work their way up to Eagle Scout. And so Maddy was literally one of the founding members of our girl troop here in Manistique, and she was one of the first Eagle Scouts in the entire country, female Eagle Scouts. She was driven.
Since the Scouts began in 1910, only 4% of Scouts have put in the work to earn the ranking of Eagle Scout, making this Manistique troop and Maddy even more remarkable.
I think it's difficult for any youth to progress all the way through to Eagle Scout because of the number of things you have to learn and do. But there are some Scouts that seem to breeze through it much easier than others, and she was one of those. She literally was more mature and more ready for the leadership assignments than any other Scout that I've had since I've been Scoutmaster.
The last requirement to reach Eagle status is the completion of the Eagle Project, which is a community-related endeavor that's planned and initiated entirely by the Scout.
If you have been downtown Manistique, there's something called Pioneer Park, where we have old buildings from colonial times, and there is a house. It's a tin house, and it's an example of what houses used to look like. It used to be white. The original color was red, and the Historical Society wanted it to be red again. And so I organized people to go and help paint it red back to what it used to be, and so it looked more like the historical standard.
It has been a couple years since Maddy became an Eagle Scout, and it's an achievement that will stick with her and help her in the future.
I don't talk about it enough because, I mean, I did it and it's been a couple of years now, but it's still a really big thing to me. Is they made this available for us and I took advantage of it. It's such a big thing, especially, you don't think about it on resumes, but a lot of people look very highly upon Eagle Scouts. So many of our astronauts that have been on the moon are Eagle Scouts. It's such a big thing. We have so many pilots in the Air Force that being an Eagle Scout, even being in the military, it sets you one step ahead of everybody because they know you've got all these skills that most people don't have.
And so we expect big things from her, and that may be a lot of expectation to put on a young person's shoulders, but I know she'll deliver. She's driven and focused. Whatever she puts her mind to, she accomplishes. She's going to a great university, and so she's doing all the things that you would do to be successful. And I have no doubt she'll be hugely successful in whatever she chooses.
Maddy has been practicing at the Manistique Rifle and Pistol Club during her summer vacation with her very own competition rifle she purchased in May.
So my rifle, it is a .22 long rifle competition on shoots. She's my baby. Her name is TT, short for tree trimmer. And it's customizable. It's beautiful. It's wooden stock and everything. It's my baby, my pride and joy. 13 pounds. It's hefty, so that's why my elbow, we have our hip out so much so that we can put our elbow on our hip. It's a lot easier for women, actually, because of the way our bodies are built. but we can anchor our elbow right on your hip bone, and it helps for stability, and then you're not holding all 13 pounds just up in your arm. Same with this little hook that I have under my armpit. It just helps to be able to keep it up and under my arm.
Maddy let me pick up and look through the sights of TT, and yes, it's heavy, and I'm extremely impressed by her accuracy.
What you see right now is what I see, just with a circle around it. It's not magnified at all or anything. They're peep sights, they're iron sights. The aperture that they put in the back sight just helps you be able to see a circle around it and know how centered you are. There's nothing special to the sights. Not like going hunting.
Maddy says it takes a lot of practice.
We have 5-hour blocks for practice twice a week, and 3 of those hours we're practicing. We have 2 for travel and 3 for everything else. So coach will come out, he'll watch. He shows us initially how to adjust our sights, and we move from there. It's just a lot of repetition, a lot of practice. You have to know exactly where your head is supposed to go on your cheek rest. Otherwise, if your head's too far this way or too far this way, it messes up your shot. So you just have to get used to being in that position. And that's pretty much what the first year is getting used to shooting, getting used to what feels good to you, and honing in.
Over the summer, Maddy added another achievement to her list.
So my coach messaged a few of us that are still either in the state or around, and he said, NRA has their smallbore championships every year, and I need some people to go. There's this women's team called the Randle Team, and it goes international, and I think you guys have a shot. And I said, I'll be there, coach. So me and another girl on the team went down. We got a hotel room, and it was 2 days of competing. It was 160 shots a day, and we shot targets at 50 yards, 50 meters, and 100 yards. And after those 2 days, if your scores were good enough, you qualified for the US Women's Randle Team. And that's what we did. We both made the team, and there's a lot of screaming in the hotel room when we found out. We were very, very happy. So then the third day that we were there, before we went home, we shot our scores for the Randle Team. So our scores are submitted internationally against old British colonies. So like Canada, New Zealand, Australia, a lot of those, obviously the UK as well.
The 10-woman team of top small-bore prone shooters compete once a year and consists of women of all ages from across the country.
We have seniors that are shooting perfect scores. They've been shooting a long time, and they try and get some of us younger gals on the team so there's some kind of legacy, you know. And they can teach. There's so much that they have to teach us, and it's amazing watching them. They know so much, and we're shooting outside, so we're shooting with the wind. So it's difficult learning to read the wind. It's a completely different beast shooting inside versus outdoors.
Once a woman makes the team, she is eligible to compete on the Goodwill Randle Team. That team assembles and competes every 4 years, alternating between the US and Great Britain.
So this year they're going to the UK. That team was decided last year.
And what does the future hold for this exceptional young woman? First, finish college.
I am currently attempting a cross-campus transfer into the College of Kinesiology, where I hope to graduate and then pursue my master's in prosthetics and orthotics. I'd like to continue shooting. I get to go do that NRA championship every year now with the other girl that I was there with. It's a lot of fun. I'd like to get better. That's a goal of mine. Get better, go do more competitions would be nice. People keep talking about the Olympics, but I don't think I would get there. I just want to keep shooting.
Only 2 years ago, trumpeter swans were finally able to be removed from Michigan's threatened and endangered species list. Once numbering in the tens of thousands, native trumpeter swans were wiped out of Michigan in the early 1900s. Recovery efforts in the early 1990s were successful, and the latest population estimate is 3,000 trumpeter swans in Michigan. Trumpeter swans face a variety of threats in the wild, including predators like wolves, coyotes, and fox. But humans are still the biggest threat to this species, which is federally protected. Lead poisoning is the leading cause of death of trumpeters. I met up with Michelle Anderson of Keweenaw Wild Bird REC to release a trumpeter swan that took 10 months of treatment and rehab due to lead poisoning.
So this bird came to us last fall. It was originally found down the road in Sidnaw, and was kind of falling over, kind of drooping one wing, just seemed off. And so they brought it up to me in Hancock. And we did, one of the first things we do with swans is test for lead. So unfortunately, there's a lot of little lead fragments in waterways. And so the way they feed, you know, they're down there getting vegetation and get tiny little fragments of lead. And so it takes a super small amount of lead to kill a bird. And so she was in really bad shape. So we got her hydrated and sent to Antigo, Wisconsin. So we got permission from the state because we're not permitted. We can't handle these birds long-term, really big. I just don't have the facilities. So we worked with Marge Gibson over at Reggie Raptor Education Center, and they also take in lots of swans and different types of water birds. So they have had her actually since October of last year. So her lead levels were the highest that they had ever seen in a bird. And so it's miraculous that she survived.
Not only had this swan ingested lead, but it had also been shot with lead ammunition.
So again, you know, of course, these are protected birds. So the shot was in her, kind of like the vertical part of her, one of her wing bones, and there was lead lodged in there. And so it took, I think Marge said 9 treatments to get all of this lead chelated or removed from her body. And so her last dose, I think, was in June. Lead poisoning in birds is a huge issue that we see. So not only with eagles, we also see it a lot with loons and swans. So we just wanted to remind folks, you know, just ethical hunting. It's super important, especially we're teaching our kids shooting the right animal. Certainly there's no hunting season for trumpeter swans here, and using the correct bullets. So of course it's illegal to shoot lead over a waterway because, you know, there are so many waterfowl and the risk of lead poisoning is so great. So of course there's some lead still in the environment from when it was legal, but there are people, unfortunately, that do choose to still do that. So it's super important that we're following the regulations, and also consider making the switch to copper, you know, non-lead ammunition that can save a lot of animals' lives. That does not affect the birds like lead does. And our eagle numbers and these guys, I mean, you know, they're up against it. So anything we can do to help you know, their numbers and do what we can do to prevent this kind of suffering, you know, is super important.
This swan was believed to be a year or 2 old when she was found. The rehabber wanted the swan to be released near where she was found on a large enough water body for a swan to take flight, and around other adult swans.
We want to get them as close to where they were found as possible, you know, because kind of ingrained in their brain for migrating and coming back to territories. It's important to do that. Ideally, you kind of want them to be around some adults. So we did look where she was found in Sidnaw, but they were not present. So we kind of scouted out the area and ended up here in Trout Creek and found a pair of trumpeters that did not have babies. At first, it seemed the adult pair were accepting of the new swan, and then they got territorial. There's been a little bit of territory squabbles, but you know, that's kind of a normal situation when you've got a pair and then another young adult joining. But it's a good example for her to have, you know, some adults just to see when she's first back into her territory, and she'll move around here, and they'll all eventually group up and move on, you know, to migrate. The pair chased the young swan into the back portion of the pond where she hung out for the next day. She's out here, well recovered, very strong, you know, able-bodied bird, and so we're hoping for the best. She'll migrate and get another chance at a wildlife, which is really exciting. We did keep an eye on the pond for a few days,
A couple of days later, the pair of swans was gone. A couple of days after that, our young swan was also gone. So we're hopeful she made a successful flight to another body of water, and this fall will migrate south for the winter. That's all for tonight, and I hope to see you right back here next week for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.